All right, welcome back to Into Search. I'm your host, Scott Sanders, Mr. Sanders and Company, Mr. Fix It, and this is your one-stop shop for your speedy reviews and your detailed how-tos. Today is a detailed how-to, Mr. Fix It in the house. You're doing retrofitting a door. Doesn't matter if it's a 2-panel or a 6-panel or this is a slab door, which is just flush, completely flat. Doesn't matter which one it is. This is just where you take the door off and you put a new one on. You just have to route out the hinges and the doorknobs and all that. We're going to show you all that so you don't have to do a pre-hung one that's in the jamb and already connected. That'll be another video. So this will make it easy for you. So maybe if like your boyfriend punched a hole in it, or let's just blame it on the kids, or if it's a dog scratched up your door and you just want to swap it out. Then you'll have your flush doors, which is like here, I got one out already. No squares or rectangles, just flat and flush. Now with these, they're 74 bucks for a 30-inch. You can see at the bottom it says 32, 36, 34, and 30s. Your standard is about a 30-inch door, 36 for a front door, so you can get like refrigerators, washers through them, dryers. So it's 74 bucks for that, or you can get a little cheaper and do 70 bucks and 60 bucks, and they won't have the door bored out already. So the door knob is bored out of these. The problem that they have though is they'll go in through the door, they'll use a special hole saw that comes through this side, but when it comes to the back side, there's a little point in the middle that if they just pull that part through, they could take it out and put it on this side and then re-hit it, so that way you get this clean look on this side, but it blows out on the back side. So that's something you want to check if you get one that's already bored out. Now it won't come with the hinges already pre-bored out, where you can actually use a router to hit that, and I'll show you how that's done, because we're going to buy this door and we're going to go ahead and do the router, because I need to mount the hinges a certain way. That way you can replace just your door and don't have to do the pre-hung, because all these other ones are pre-hung. They have the jamb with it. So with the door, I'm getting a 30 by 80. That'll show you 30 inches. Then from bottom to top, it's 80. Okay, so this is the door. This is the casing. That doesn't come with the pre-hung. We're not doing a pre-hung today. Today's a retrofitting the door, because we're just going to take the door off, which is a flat slab like this one, just flat. Has a textured look to it, but doesn't have any panels. And then you have the door stop, the door jamb, and then the door casing. So you can either take this one off if you sit it and the reveal's not sitting properly. But we have the door off. We're going to retrofit it. We bought a new one that already has the bored out holes for this. So you always want to measure top down. So you want to measure from the top down to the strike plate, which is this. You want to make sure that that hole lines up right there. So when you do the door, that's the number that matters. Same thing from the top. You want to measure from the top down to the top of this hinge, then to the bottom of this one. That way you can route it out, and this can sit flush, because there's a little bit of a lip here, but it needs to be countersunk in and flush. So you do that with a router. And then you measure from the top again, bottom hinge. This one only has 2. All new doors have 3. All right, so the easiest way to retrofit is you can get your door, line it up, put it on top of it, old door, new door, slide it right to the edge, and that should give you, this should be perfectly lined up. So that lets you know that the strike plate and the bored out hole is perfectly lined up. They do it kind of standard. It shouldn't be off, but that's the best way to make it do it. So you put that on top. If those two are lined up, you're really, really good. Now it's not all the way to the front, from the back side, because you can see that the hinges are back here. Now what I like to do, you can take a Sharpie or a pen, and that way you can mark. It already hangs over a little bit. You just want to mark the edge. And now a good contractor always measures twice, cuts once. So after you get the marking from them, now you know exactly where the hinges are going to go, but you're still going to go inside, like I showed a second ago, go to the top of the jamb and measure down to the first hinge. Get the top measurement and the bottom measurement, and then double check it across your door. Now, it can help. Sometimes you get confused when you take this door off, which side's up. This one has a vent on it, which is weird, not normal, but you can put a piece of tape on it, just point an arrow pointing up, or write the word up. That way you can make it easier on yourself to remember what side's top. All right. Okay, so you can tell that we lined up the top of the door flush. The door knob is bored out and it's flush. The hinges are lined up, but the bottom has an overlip. So this overhangs the original door. So the original door is shorter because normally when you have carpet, or if you have wooden floors or tile, that's what this is made to sit on. But this was carpet, so it rubbed probably when they try to open the door. So they went and cut off about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. rule of thumb, most people's thumb is an inch wide. Okay, so this is going to be a good door because we need to rip it. Sometimes when you're doing the frame, the jamb, a house in Texas, if you get to 100-degree heat and you were 70 last night, that means the house can shift 3 inches in any direction. Doesn't matter which direction, but it can shift 3 inches. So because of that, it'll shift, and 3 inches, it'll suck back in. Your door jambs can start wiggling and wobbling. Sometimes you'll see like little stress fractures, which is like a hairline crack that starts at the top corners of the door. So this one doesn't fit because they had to shave it last time. So it's slightly tilted, so we need to shave the door. If you're going to shave, you can do the bottom or you can do the back. You can do it by the hinge side. You can take that off. You don't want to shave this side because the door latches and the knobs, there's a certain system to where when you have them, if you shave off of this part, when you put the actual locking mechanism in there, it'll stick out. It's made to be a certain depth, so if you try to go too short on this side, it won't stick in all the way. So that means you can't shave that side. You can shave off the hinges, and then you just got to reroute them. You can't shave off the bottom side because there's compressed MDF in here. It's a hollow core door, so it sounds hollow, makes it easy for an indoor door to be shut. So down here there's about 6 inches. On the sides there's 4 inches. In the middle there's 4 inches. So you can shave off the bottom quite a bit easily. You don't have to worry about it. This is a veneer that is compressed to that compressed cardboard, MDF. And then there's also 4 inches at the top. So you possibly can shave the top, but you don't really want to. If you have to, do the bottom or the back. This one needs to be shaved off the sides because the strike plate was catching the locking mechanism. So we're going to show you how to do that. When you roll this across the top to make sure that it doesn't scratch it, I taped a drop cloth to it. So it needs to be a 1/4 inch shaved off, that way the strike plate can catch the lock. All right, so this is what it taped looks. You can see the sawdust on it. Had to have my helper help me slide it across. So now that we're done, when you take the tape off, it gives you a real crisp edge. It didn't fray out. So that's a little ancient Chinese secret us contractors in Texas use. You don't have to buy my books to get that tip. I went ahead and checked the door hinges measurements twice. I like to draw a diagram so you can see the measurements here. But also you have to remember at the top of the door there's a reveal. There's going to be a gap. It only needs to be about an 1/8 inch thick. So whatever your measurements are, that's why I say leave about an 1/8 inch gap because they need to slide down. So when you measure from here to here and say it's 7 inches, really the door's going to drop down. So really it's 6 7/8. It's an 1/8 short of being 7 inches. Okay, so you take the hinge off the old door. You can see the markings are right on there, so it should fit perfectly when it gets back in. Then you can see those are normal screws for it, but these aren't. So what happens is sometimes these doors, like I was saying, the MDF's only so far, but if it wiggles and opens up a lot, it starts stripping that out, so the thread gets gone. Then all you have to do is get a bigger, more coarse-headed screw, and you can thread it in. That way it grips deeper than the old one, because the old one only went about this deep. About that deep. The next one's about 2 inches, 3 inches long. That can fix your door. It'll suck it back onto the hinge. So if you go to shut a door that actually hits on the doorknob side and it won't shut all the way and it always rubs, that's your easy way to fix it. It also works on front doors. So if your front door catches a little bit and you have to push it shut, take some longer screws, take the hinge screws out, suck it in real tight, and hopefully it'll grab the 2x4 in the jamb and it'll push it back in where you can shut the door easily. Best way to get the router going is just put your hinge on the plate, and then you can adjust easily so you can get the right depth. You don't have to get crazy with it. This needs to be enough to get deep enough where nothing's sticking out. All right, that makes it easy measurements. You're not sitting there trying to measure. So if you have the door, you can do this as a diagram. It's 1 1/16. That way I can measure from the bottom up 1 1/16, mark a line. Then I can trace out the actual hinge to get the exact measurement. Or you can just measure the top part and find out it's 1/4 inch down, and then measure 1/4 inch down so that you can get the right hinge, because you don't want to blow it all the way through. You will see a lot of doors that if it's like this, it's just craftsmanship. But a lot of people just take this line here and this line here and just blow it all the way through and make it all flat there. Most people don't stare at this part of the door, but if you have an OCD person or you just want to make it look cleaner, you want to do it like they used to have it because that's what they're used to. Okay, you can see I have my starter and finish line, top and bottom, and then I drew 2 lines. Straight line between 2 points. You never want to do one because you can still make it crooked. Not that dramatic, but if you have 2 of them, it makes it super simple to draw a straight line. So you go to the line, make sure the top and bottom are good, and then you just trace it out. Okay, so I traced it out. Now you have a perfect line of how it used to sit. Now you just got to route it out and then hang the door hinge and go put it back in. All right, so when you're going to cut it, you want to kind of keep one hand on here to help guide you. the more stable you are, the less it's going to run. You normally want to just try to get used to it, cut out the middle part, because how the grain is set up, when it catches this, it rotates clockwise. When it catches certain kind of grains, it's going to want to jump. So that's why I'm going to hold real good here and then a little bit on the door. You just want to start close to the line. Don't go straight on the line right away. See how it jumps? Going too fast. Once you get your little rhythm, then you can try to get the edges. Get closer. So you can actually see the cut. Get down in here. Over here. You gotta go see down that hole. You see it?
Yeah.
Don't want to go too fast. That's where it's going to jump on you. As long as you keep this plate, the fence, the guide, flat on anywhere, it will be flat. So then, test it out. And yes, you got to do this step. It's real important. So now, bam, now you can have new screw ports. That's what I like about having it like this, because if you blow it through it, it won't hold it real good, so you might end up mounting it there and then the door won't sit properly, or you mount it down here, it won't sit properly. So I like to do the rounded edges, but that's just me. You don't have to. You could go through there and then just measure off the old holes. All right. The thing to remember when you're mounting the plate back on is you can see that it contours down. It's concave in that side. This side is just flat. So when you see flat, that's the part that sits up against the wood. Some people do make that mistake, but this should sit down in there and it should be countersunk too. So see how that sits flat also? So look for the concave part. That way you can make sure that it sits right. So that needs to go there so that the screw can sit there flat too. That's how you boost it up. That way I can easily paint the sides. All sides, even the back hinge side, and roll the front. Now, when you do it, you want to wipe it off real good, make sure there's no debris, because you're also not trying to get the first coat to be the perfect coat. You want to do 2 or 3 coats. The first one's going to be a little blotchy. That's fine. You just want to use it to seal the door. After it seals the door, the next paint will be a lot more easier. It'll glide over it, make it look more even. All right, so using a sponge roller, you dip it. You can have quite a bit on it. Thread it out a little bit. You want to do the sides first, so that way if you get ripples or runs on the top or bottom, you can feather it out. So I like to do all the sides first, which I've already done. But then you just put the glob on the front. You just start smearing it out. You can do medium pressure here. But then you put no pressure and you can see it just kind of dissipates and disappears on the run. So you don't want to have those little streaks and runs in it. It's okay if it's a little blotchy, a little see-through, because you're going to be painting it 2 or 3 times and that'll disappear. Also, if you don't have anything but a Napier roller, you can do what's called back brushing, which is after you roll it on and it gets real thick and you see all those streaks and roller marks, you can use the brush and back brush. You can go over it with a brush and that'll smooth it out and get rid of most of your imperfections. So yeah, after that you just take a brush and just hit it again. But a sponge roller is ideal, so I would recommend just using a sponge roller. So this is what we mean. We hung it. You can see the reveal, which is the gap, is about the same all the way down, which means the hinge side where the studs are at, it mounted that good. And the reveal at the top is about the same all the way across. A little tighter over here than it is over there. But this is where you can see that the house is warped. Down there, the reveal is tight, just like on the hinge side. But the more you get up, the more of a gap gets bigger. You really can't fix that unless you just do the whole pre-hung door. But it's not a necessity. You don't have to do it right now. But that's the only way to close the actual gap. Or you can try to put a shim or a spacer behind this hinge, and that'll lean it out a little bit more if it really bothers you. But being that's an interior door to an office, yeah, they just wanted to swap out the messed up door. So thanks for bearing with me. I know my editing skills aren't great and I don't put a lot of graphics in there like most YouTube people are. I don't script this out. I do it all in 1 or 2 takes, just going off of the knowledge I have from being a master carpenter. So bear with me if I make a few mistakes. And if you think I deserve it, smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. And remember, nobody is coming to save you. Get up and be your own hero. Excuses make today easier and tomorrow harder. Discipline makes today harder and tomorrow easier. So stop waiting for the right time, because time is not waiting for you. You're not going to find a happy life if you go looking for it. You have to make it, because you never lose. You just win or you learn. So take a deep breath. It's just a bad day, not a bad life.